Well, hello there, gang. On last week's episode, I let you in on some leadership lessons I've learned over the last 6 months. On this episode, we are going to be continuing our discussion on the reflection of lessons learned over the last 6 months. This is the 30, and I am your host. Let's get this party started. Hello there, everyone. Hello, friends. Welcome to the 30, episode 155 of the 30. Glad that you decided to join me on today's episode. Glad that you are here. Remember to like, share, and if you want to, please do this. Repost the broadcast if you're watching on LinkedIn. If you're watching on YouTube, do me a huge favor. Make sure that you not only like the episode, but subscribe to our channel, the Jackman Group LLC. The goal of the 30 is it's very simple, provide relevant information to help you, the viewer and the listener, enhance your personal, spiritual, and professional lives. Very simple goal, and we hope that you are getting the information that you need that will help you to get to that point. If you're receiving valuable information, tell someone about it. Subscribe to our channel. Subscribe to our community, and I'll give you some information on how to do that shortly. So this is episode 155. Last week was episode 154, obviously, and I started a series on reflecting some of the leadership lessons that I've learned over the last 6 months. I can't go back. I don't want to go all the way back. But I just wanted to start in terms of this year alone, the last 6 months. We're coming up on the end of June, moving towards the next 6 months, the last 6 months of the year. And there's some very specific lessons that I've learned in the last 6 months. And I know that as leaders, you have too. So do me a favor, drop the lessons that you have learned over the last 6 months, whether you are a leader, or you aspire to be a leader. Drop some of the lessons that you've learned in the chat. We want to hear from you. So last week, I talked about 3 specific lessons that I learned. One was the importance of self-care, the importance of taking time out. And I talked about being as a leader, as a business owner, as an entrepreneur. There are many things that we get pulled into, right? There, of course, whether it's work or business, there's family, there's so many things that we get pulled into in terms of our time, and we only have 24 hours a day. So it's important that we really manage our time more effectively and focus on sometimes on ourselves. We focus on others so many times and doing so many things that we forget about us, the individual, ourselves. So we need to unplug at times. We need to give ourselves an opportunity to really do things that we like, to just get away from it, and focus on us. I talked about exercise. I talked about both physical and mental exercise. So we talked about that on last week as number one. The second thing that I talked about on last week was focusing on our own personal development and our growth. Um, One of the things that happens is when we make the decision to focus on our own personal development and growth, our team members see that and they get excited about it because they're looking at us, right? They're following us. So if we decide to focus on our own personal development and growth as role models to our team members and to others, they now start to focus on their own personal development and growth. And we need to be intentional in those things. We need to really uh, make it a part of our annual goal and be intentional and be consistent and making sure that we're focusing on our own personal and professional and spiritual development. The third thing that I mentioned on last week was the idea of having fun. We work, 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 and we really don't have fun. But what I've learned is not just learned, but relearned, is the importance of fun, the importance of getting away, family and friends, and having fun. We talked about play hard, work hard, play hard. That's something that we live by, both in our family, but also in our business. Work hard, play hard. So that's part of our culture. That's part of our norms. That's part of our belief system is that, yes, we're going to put in the work, but we're also going to get away and play hard. So those were the three things that I talked about on last week, things that I learned or relearned. And let's move now into, I have two very specific things that I want to talk about today. There are many things that I've learned, many leadership lessons that I've learned over the years. And as someone that teaches and trains and coaches leaders at all levels, I keep learning things, relearning, and I keep learning new things. And as I do my research and I plug into reading more and and studying more, I realize that there are very specific things that I need to focus on, right? So one of those things is that there's a difference between culture, and team expectations. And that that came about by me really understanding that. And speaking of culture, right, and we were doing a piece with a team, a training with one of our teams, one of our clients, a valuable clients, and we were talking about culture. They really wanted to understand what is culture, how can they build culture within their teams. So as I did the research, I says, wow, it was a revelation to me because I thought that team culture and team expectations was one and the same. But as I dug further in, maybe you knew the difference. I thought it was one and the same. Maybe you understood them differently, or you knew that they were different. But as I did the research, I really had to dig deeper to find out that there are two different things, right? Yes, they go hand in hand, right? They connect, but they're very different. So team culture, and check this out. Team culture refers to shared beliefs, values, customs, behaviors. It's the norms that characterize a team. What are the team's beliefs? What are the team's values and customs, things that you live by? So when we look at team culture, it encompasses the mindset and the way things are done within the team or the organization. So we're looking at team culture or organizational culture. Team culture happens over time. You don't say, okay, we're going to, one of the values or norms that we're going to live by, we're going to start it today and tomorrow it happens. No, team culture develops over time. What it does, it shapes the identity and the interactions and overall work environment of the team. Team culture is the unwritten set of rules and patterns of behavior, how the team members come together, how they collaborate, how they communicate, and how they make decisions. That's team culture when we look at team culture or organizational culture. On the other hand now, team expectations are the guidelines and standards that team members agree upon regarding their roles and responsibilities and their behaviors. So these expectations are typically established and communicated by the team leader, right? So if you are managing or leading a team, I always tell our leaders, make sure that you set clear and concise expectations. So these are guidelines and standards that the team members agree on coming from the team leader. These expectations are collectively agreed upon by both the leader and the team. So there is, although team expectations and team culture interact, they are distinctly different. To summarize it, team culture sets the tone for how work is done. It influences the overall team effectiveness and cohesion. That's team culture. Team expectations now, on the other hand, provide clarity on what is expected of each team member within that team in terms of performance, in terms of communication, in terms of conduct. So you may set here's some team expectations. I expect you to be here at a certain time. I expect us to have an atmosphere of collaboration, of contribution. I expect a team to be a high-performing team. That's a team expectation. So in a nutshell, team expectations are often influenced by team culture. So team culture has to be modeled. And this is something that I tell our leaders that we train or coach. And this is something that I know before, that I knew before, but I even learned more as we studied effective team culture and how does team culture differ from team expectation. So when we look at team culture or organizational culture, it has to be modeled from the top, and it takes time. So not only model from the top to the bottom, but throughout the whole organization. So as a leader, you can't say, well, here's the team culture that I want to have, or that the team should have, or the organization should have, and just let it go. As the leader within that team, leading that team or that organization, you yourself must model the culture of the team in order for that culture to take hold and move forward. So when it comes to team culture and team expectations, I'm telling you, that was revolutionary to me. Again, maybe to you it was self-explanatory. To me, it was very different in understanding team culture versus expectation. The second lesson that I learned over the past 6 months is this, and I continue to learn this because our team and our strategic partners continue to push me, right? So the lesson that I've learned is this: the importance of being bold and thinking outside the box versus being timid and staying in the box. You've heard me say this over and over again. Growth is only experienced when you decide, when you make the decision to step outside of your comfort zone. And I firmly believe that you can only grow when you make the decision to step outside. You can't grow when you are within your comfort, with your blinky or in your box, right? So we know that. But as leaders, being bold and thinking outside of the box, and then leaders that are timid and living or staying in the box, these are two contrasting concepts. Bold, timid, thinking outside the box, staying inside the box. So here's some things that I've learned. Leaders that are bold and thinking outside the box, what happens is that there are more risk takers. It involves a level of risk taking. It involves a level of uncertainty. So if you want to be bold, if you're a thinker, if you want to step outside of the box, realize that there's some risk and some level of uncertainty that's involved. But it also brings around great rewards. What it does, it means trying new things. You know this. I shouldn't be able to tell you this, but this is a lesson I've learned. I've learned it personally and I've seen it. So it means being open or trying new things. It means challenging the traditional, challenging the norm, and exploring new ideas. It means stepping out of your comfort zone. It means not carrying on the same old, right? So these are some of the lessons that I've learned over time. So what are some of the things that you have learned? What are some of the lessons that you have learned? Drop a chat for me. What are some of the things that you have learned this year as it relates to bold thinking and thinking outside of the box? It also, because you've heard this over time, the definition of insanity. What's the definition of insanity? Simply means doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. So if you're timid, right? Well, if you look at the concept of being bold, thinking outside the box, that means that you have to step out. You have to be open. You're opening up yourself to trying new things, new experiences. Being timid and stay in the box as a leader simply means that you're being hesitant to express new ideas, to express yourself, often being fearful of being judged or being criticized, tending to feel more comfortable with the familiar, being more predictable, not taking a chance, not taking a risk. And the outcome of this is that there's a limit on your growth, there's a limit on your development. There's a limit on how far you can go. What I've learned from these two things is that it all comes down to who you surround yourself with and the importance of surrounding yourself with people who are willing to push you, who are willing to say something that you may not want to hear. And there's so many leaders out there that want to surround themselves with yes people. So what they're doing is actually limiting their growth, limiting their potential. So you've heard me said this before. You want to surround yourself with smarter people, people that may know more than you, and being comfortable with that, being okay with that. That's what I do. And that's what I tell the leaders that I have the privilege and the honor of training and those that are part of our coaching program. Is that if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. So you want to surround yourself with individuals that don't submit to saying yes. Yes, they submit to your authority in terms of being a leader, but they have set the atmosphere where it's okay for them to push back. It's okay for them to have an opposing view. So I personally thought that I've always been a person that was bold and an outside the box thinker. I always thought that I was the person that embraced risk and innovation and creativity. But that's what I thought. So within this last 6 months of reflection on lessons I've learned or relearned, what I come to realize is that I used to be one that truly embraced risk, one that focused on creativity, one that focused on innovation. And to a large degree, I'm still that. But I realize as I reflected on some of the lessons learned is that I've had some limitations in those areas. So in reality, what I was teaching was not always what I was embracing. And that's a hard lesson to learn as a leader. Because I have a team that's very creative, hardworking, and outside the box thinkers. And I'll tell you, they push me daily. And the more they push, sometimes I was resistant in some of the things that I thought was going too far, that they were too out of the box thinkers. They were too creative in their thoughts. They were too bold in the things that they wanted us to do. So in essence, I started limiting the growth, not only of me personally, but the growth of the company. So what I've learned this year, by them consistently and continuously pushing me to think differently, to think outside of the box, what I've learned is that I need to give in and allow the smarter people to win out. Now, it doesn't happen all the time, but most of the time, over the last 6 months, my mindset has shifted because I've always known that I've surrounded myself with brilliant people and the importance of doing that. But what I was doing was I was surrounding myself with brilliant people and creative and very innovative folks. But I was frustrated in them because sometimes when they were thinking too far out of the box, when they were too bold, I would say, well, come back in, bring it back in. So limiting their creativity, limiting their innovation, limited their growth. So that was a lesson learned for me personally in the last 6 months. So what I've done is I've opened it up and says, okay, what should we be doing? Here's the vision. Here's the goal that we want to accomplish. What are your thoughts? And think outside the box. Don't be constrained within the box, because there are some brilliant people. I'll tell you, I work with some brilliant and very creative minds. So as a lesson, if you want to take this lesson from me, is that number one, surround yourself with brilliant people and allow them, set the atmosphere, set the background, set the foundation, which would allow them to think outside the box. If you are not a risk taker, if you are more timid, a more in the box thinker, as you surround yourself with out of the box, more bold thinkers in your team, allow them the opportunity and allow them the creativity to do the things that they should do. Again, I'm not talking about wild and crazy things. I'm not talking about out of the top, over the top. And sometimes that may work because you never know. So allow that to happen. Bold, outside of the box thinkers versus timid, inside of the box leaders and thinkers. So those are the two things that I wanted to discuss with you today. If we were to go into a third lesson that I've learned over the last 6 months is the importance of clarity in your what you say and what you do. Make sure that how you say it is clear. Check for understanding before you move away or before the action is done, right? Clarity in thought and clarity in your action, as well as clarity in what you say to your team and those around you. So those are just 3 of the additional lessons that I've learned for the last 6 months. And as we continue this journey, I will pop in and out as on the 30 week to week, and I'll talk about more of the lessons that I've learned as we go into the second half of the year. I'm sure that I will have additional lessons that I've learned because I'm open to learning. I'm open to experiencing new things and new ideas and new thoughts. So I ask you to follow this journey. Learning is continuous. Be open to learning. Be open to new experience and new ideas. Don't be closed off. So with that said, my friends, I want to thank you for being here. I want to thank you for being a supporter of the 30. And if we can help you in any way, make sure that you drop us a line. If we can help you with your individual or your team or organizational development, send an email to us, info@Jackman Group LLC. The 30 is produced by the Jackman Group LLC. So send us an email, info@Jackman Group LLC. We would love to partner with you, with your team, and with your organization as it relates to leadership development, team development and enhancements, strategic planning, and growing you and your team from where you are to where you desire to be. So that is it for today. Join our community, the Jackman Group community, and join our mailing list or email list so that you can get the information first before we send it out to anyone else. So, friends, thank you for being here. May God continue to bless you and your family. We'll see you